Hello friends, this is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming and welcome to another Path of Exile video. In today's video I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the loot changes which have happened in Path of Exile, and I'll explain them to the best of my ability, the implications, and what I think could be done to potentially bring things back in line so that everybody's happy and possibly still keep in line with GGG's quote-unquote vision. But I'm in a tier 16 cowards trial at the moment, and just to demonstrate, there's a lot of monsters in this map if you've done it, and I'm going to go ahead and hold Alt here and take a look at the loot on the ground. And you can see this is where the boss died. There was probably a rare that died right here. But other than that, there is not a lot of loot down here. And the reduction of clutter, both from a server load point of view and also just to help with like filtering and everything, has been kind of a goal for a long time, and it's been talked about in podcasts. But they definitely missed the mark in a lot of ways. And you can really feel that when you first get in and start mapping. It kind of made the only viable strategies to be ones that are based off chests, or specifically betrayal, where you can earn currency to just or earn the tokens in order to get currency. So I got lucky. I managed to spec into like strong boxes and expedition right at the beginning, which is kind of the guaranteed loot type thing. So I was very lucky in that regard, but some people were not so lucky. Some people wanted to actually map, and they went into things like Beyond, that kind of thing. Well, if you went into Beyond, or if you tried to set up some sort of mapping build for your character, oops, sorry, you're kind of out of luck. The reason for that is they reversed a global quantity and rarity increase on league specific monsters and just monsters in general. So as you can see, a lot of the stuff here just dropped like a small amount of white gear, and I do have some rarity on my gear. I have 26% on my amulet, as well as another 24% on my ring, so I have 50% rarity, so I'm probably getting a little bit better quality loot than you would generally get. But that doesn't matter. A lot of people were having a hard time sustaining things like alchemies, scours, vols, and that's because in decreasing these drops, they also decrease the currency drops and supposedly the map drops. I personally didn't have trouble with map sustain. A lot of people did though. So this is what I picked up in the map. I got a unique, I got a 86 boot base, tier 16 map, some currency. That's fine on the base of it, but the problem is this is a lot of monster density on this compared to when you first are running like blue-white maps, for instance. Like when you get into maps and you're not geared, and you just start transmuting your white maps in order to try to earn currency and get everything, your item rarity and item quantity are going to be very low. And I also had the experience where I was using all of my binding orbs to roll, which I didn't have that many, but I was using them as I got them, getting all of my binding orbs to roll my maps. I was almost out of elks. I ran out of vols a bunch of times. I ran out of scours. I even thought about using chaos on my yellow maps at one point to re-roll them because I didn't have any scours. I also ran out of chance orbs to get scours because I had been using those chance orbs to buy maps from Kirak, and that was the only way I was sustaining my maps and able to actually progress. And I do have most of my map progress done now at 102 out of 115, but it was a struggle, and it was because I was lucky in what I chose to do. I chose to go strong boxes and betrayal as my main focuses on my map. And that's the only reason I was able to progress my map. Anybody who did not choose to do that and decided to go to more mapping centric, they're like the list of things that actually worked are like heist, betrayal, strong boxes, legions, because legions have chests that can just drop currency and stuff. There's a pretty short list of mechanics that actually work out well. Even Harbinger isn't that good at the moment. While you do get like Elk shards and Chaos shards, which is nice, you're not getting Vol shards. You're not getting Divine shards. You're not getting, a lot of the other big ticket currencies at the moment. Like, you're not getting Scours from Harbinger. It's still not going to help you map. It'll just give you some more alchemies, assuming you haven't had alchemy shards hidden from your filter. So by having these historic changes, they dropped the amount of loot by, as many people have said, up to 90%. This is compounded for a couple of reasons. First of all, last patch or the patch before, I don't remember which, they had made it so that currency items drop less frequently, but they drop in higher stacks. The last map I just did, which was a decently rolled waste pool, tier 16, I have transmute, armorer's scraps, blacksmith whetstones, all the low stuff hidden. The only currency I got from that map was 3 elks and 5 fusings. That was it. That was all the currency I got from the map. I haven't bothered juicing my maps for obvious reasons. Like, I am going to go into the once sextants have an additional use, but I'm not even going to do that because I only have 2 void stones at the moment. So I'm probably going to wait to actually allocate that. But I do want the little currency things at the end of that. But my point is, there's no point in juicing the maps. You're just wasting currency, because by adding, usually you want to use sextants to add additional packs of monsters onto your map device. Like, I could probably roll them for strong boxes or something, but I can just put ambush on for 4 chaos and get better value. So there's no point in juicing up your maps, because the base map drops. Adding more packs isn't going to add much more loot. Like, you might get maybe this small pile extra worth of loot for a sextant for the whole map. It's really, really bad. What they could have done, or the benefit of the doubt that I gave them, is that by decreasing the loot as a total, I thought they couldn't control specifically what kinds of loot dropped. So I thought by dropping the loot by 90%, just by a matter of course, the amount of currency dropped by 90%. And that may be the case. But then I saw in the recent patch notes that they increased the amount of currency dropped by 25%. And I thought, oh, they can separately control these metrics, these drops. So what ended up going through my head is, first of all, it's not like a flat 25% based on the previous 100. So what probably ended up happening here is they dropped the overall loot by 90% and then increased the currency alone by 25%. 25% increase on 10% of what it previously was is 12.5%. So maybe if they had increased the loot drop by 500%, it'd be like 60% of what it used to be, and maybe we'd notice it feeling a lot better and be a little bit happier. I'm not even going to go into some of the other issues like the harvest thing. This is specifically on drops. But they definitely have the means to increase that. So people are not going to be able to map, especially less experienced people or people who aren't willing to adapt. I'm perfectly happy. I like running the strong boxes in Betrayal, but people who do want to just blast maps are not going to be happy playing, and you're seeing them quitting in droves. The second issue is the Arch Nemesis thing. So I now have the means to deal with all of the Arch Nemesis. I have a lot of penetration. I have some on my weapon. I got one on a Watcher's Eye. I got some on a Watcher's Eye. So the things that were giving me trouble before were primarily the things that had insane amounts of, and I have a bunch on my tree too. The things that were giving me trouble were the things that basically bricked my build by being immune to shock and having infinite lightning resist. I can kind of deal with them now. But having a lot of the loot moved to those. I remember fighting like Prismatic Skinned, Lightning Walker, Consecrator mobs in the beginning. When I first got there, I think I was in like a tier 7 map. I ran into one of these and I sat there fighting it for like 5 minutes. I had to go back and get a Frost Orb or whatever it is in order to reduce the regen from Consecrator. It still took me another 5 minutes to kill it, and then it didn't drop anything. So they've moved some drops to these Arch Nemesis mods, but you're really only getting good drops from a select few. So you're having some mobs that are completely, same problem as we've had since Arch Nemesis has been in there. There are a couple builds that completely, or a couple of mods that completely invalidate certain builds, but those mods aren't really dropping anything. So I'm sitting here and I don't know what drops what. Like there wasn't I don't know, oh hey, Consecrator and Crystal Skin aren't really going to drop anything good. I don't even remember what their drops are now. So just leave them alone, run away. I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get a nice loot explosion. If this is this hard to kill, it's going to give me a lot of good stuff. There's a famous clip, I think it's DS Lily going around, of her spending like 7 or 8 minutes killing a single mob for it to drop like 4 basically junk uniques and 2 essences or something like that. Pretty famous clip at the moment. And yeah, that's pretty much what it feels like. Now they keep on kind of doubling down on this. I think they want to put most of the loot into rares and bosses, which is fine, but they really do need to buff up the currency drops, at least the currency drops on standard monsters again, to bring them back up into line. At least, like, okay, you're going to make up for some of that currency drop from the Arch Nemesis, but at least bring them back to like 60-70% of what was the previous base. Because otherwise, people are just going to get stuck in maps. There are ways to adapt, but like I said, less experienced players are not going to know what to do to adapt. They're not going to think about it, or they're just not going to want to do that. They want to play the mapping builds. They don't want to do Strongbox. They don't want to do Heist. They don't want to do Betrayal, maybe. They wanted to do Beyond. They wanted to do, some sort of map blasting build. They wanted to take the shrine nodes so that they could blast maps faster. That has been great in previous leagues. What's that doing right now? Who cares if you kill the map faster if you're not able to sustain by going through it? So that's the big problem, is by bringing these down, they just made it impossible for your average everyday player, or players that have a very specific play style, very popular play style, granted. A lot of people love blasting maps. That's a thing. Those players are left in the dust, and I think that's a real shame. And the Magic Find thing was a big, it didn't end up mattering. Like 90%, if you gear for Magic Find, it'll increase the drops from like Arch Nemesis and bosses. Bosses, fine, whatever. You'll get some more uniques. Most of them are still going to be terrible. Arch Nemesis, the really good Arch Nemesis mods don't come every single map. You're not getting, like, I've gotten a couple of 6 links from Arch Nemesis, a couple of times. I've gotten like big loot explosions, some good ones. That doesn't even happen every map. Even like the less interesting ones, like the bunch of synthesized mobs that I have, or mods that I have to pick all up and identify them all, see if there's a tier 1 synthesized or fractured or whatever mod on there. Yeah, fractured. And then kind of move on from there. Even those interesting ones, those aren't coming up that frequently because there aren't that many rares. You can add more rares, sure, but my point is, it's not enough to make up for the base drop loss. I don't mind them, because like people have said, yeah, I picked up these boots because they can roll 35% move speed. Whatever, bases don't really matter early on in the game. You're still not getting enough rares to like gear up a character very well. The crafting issue is actually directly tied into this, but I don't craft that much outside of essences, and just like, I used to use harvest infrequently and not very well. So but it is directly tied to this. A lot of the upgrades, I've gotten a lot better at crafting since I started playing solo self-found. I'm not playing it currently, but previously having played solo self-found, and that made all the difference. But I'm kind of ranting now. So my basic point is, they messed up, and they messed up in a couple of compounding ways. The way to bring this back in line from the get-go is to take like map drops and currency drops and bring them back up to at least the point where, you know, the arch nemesis mods kind of make up for them. I don't know. I'm still kind of having fun. I think it's mostly because this build is really good and really fun. I've actually made a lot of currency despite everything, but I know a lot of people aren't having fun. I have a lot of, you know, chaos and divines and exalts, not a lot, but a decent amount, and I have good gear for the most part. You know, I'm enjoying the league, but I can definitely understand maybe why other people are not enjoying the league, and yeah, just bring back map blasting. Basically, bring it back and bring back crafting. I know I said I wasn't going to target or talk about crafting, but like, give us some of that crafting power back. We have a little bit more coming back, but we need some of the more interesting harvest crafting options back on the table in order to satisfy some of those people as well. So yeah, I hope GGG brings that into account. You know, adding more loot onto bosses and arch nemesis is fine, but you have to at least put some of it back into the base pool so that people can map when they first get into maps. Hope you enjoyed. I guess I don't really know how to end this. Hopefully GGG gets this back in line. You're perfectly valid for being upset if this ruins your playstyle or your plans. I get it, and it's unfortunate that the league started this way, and I basically just came back to the game after a break, so you know, bad timing for me, I guess. But this has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I will see you next time. Bye.